Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Let the record show that today is April the 30th, 2019. The time is 9 o'clock a.m. Commissioner Kanda, would you conduct the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
I will, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I wanted to welcome everybody back after the Easter break and to let you know that the two most wonderful women in my life, my daughter and wife, presented me with a tie that happens to have the pledge on it. Oh. So I wanted to commission it, and I can do it without reading it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks for the honor.
So you should never forget it. You could always read it.
Read it if I need it.
Madam Clerk, to the board, would you conduct the roll call, please?
I will. Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Present.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the board, Kelly Kemper, present.
Thank you, ma'am. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
I have none, sir.
Neither do I.
Nor do I. Approval of the minutes. I don't know why I didn't put that date of those minutes in there.
I read them and I don't remember what it is, but I'll move we accept them as written.
April 17th, I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to accept the minutes of April 17th. Discussion.
Thanks, Kelly.
You're welcome.
He did it just a week.
I sincerely enjoyed having our meeting at the airport.
Yeah.
I think it was that they didn't really need to cook lunch for us, but it was really a nice
That
place.
capped it, didn't it? That
It was
nice.
very nice. And
Yeah.
public, I'd like to thank them.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, did a good job. Very accurate set of minutes.
Thank you.
No problem. Further discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the minutes from April 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Minutes have been approved.
Then all the heck happened after that.
Audience introductions. Would you like to start, sir? Would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Paul Hatfield. My main residence is in Castle Rock, Colorado. I'm a part-timer down here over in the wet mountains.
No, welcome. Nice to have you here. Not to be nosy, but are you here for a specific reason, or?
This is my first board meeting I've been to, and I
Okay.
just wanted to see what you guys do.
Well, welcome. We appreciate that.
Glad you're here.
Great to have you here.
Neither snow nor rain nor sleet.
Wilson Jarvis, rural.
Oh,
Custer County.
nice to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Dale Nolan, rural Westcliff.
All right.
Good morning.
Lane Squire, Clerk of Town of Silvercliff.
Good morning.
Kathy Rice, Clerk of Town of Westcliff.
Good morning.
Shad Bradley, sure.
Where to go?
Eileen with an I-L, right? I always kind of struggle with that. I have to give that thought to make sure. Welcome. Good morning. Nice to have you all here. Commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you like to start?
Sure will. Thank you. I took a week off in the middle since the last meeting and visited my family over the Easter holiday. So I don't have that much that went on, but on the 17th after the board meeting, all three of us obviously attended the workshop regarding vacation and comp time. On the 24th, I was in Salida for the almost all-day Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments meeting, which is just it's kind of like our round table, but with all the different areas. It's very, very exciting and it's very good. On the 25th, I met with Congressman Tipton twice, once in the public meeting at the library and once in our private meeting, which I was very impressed with here in the commissioner's room. And really that's about all I did. I worked with public health nurse a little bit and did some other things, but nothing worthy of reporting.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kanda.
Yeah, I took the break too, as I mentioned a minute ago, but I wanted to thank you, Tom, for being at the day after the airport. We had Dola out out there to tour, to take a look at things, to sync them up with our grant request for the fuel farm out there, and that went, from what I hear, pretty well. Good meeting. And also wanted to thank you for standing in on the 911 radio gig, and we're going to have a discussion on that later on for radios. Also wanted to let everybody know this is the last day to make comments on the strategic plan that we did. It's still available to comment on. So if you had a spelling error or a glitch that we left out, you can still put it up and let's talk about it. And then we'll be meeting later, tracking how we're going to be tracking against that plan. We have different stages that we'll be doing that. Also been working since we got back and during the time, because you can't escape email. The requirements for the airport phase 2 and 3, basically. There's 2 contracts we got to do. One is the ramp expansion, and the other is the taxiway and fuel farm. Building that. And so we're working the requirements with Armstrong Engineering, and we'll be cutting, I'll bring the contracts in once we get it figured out, and we'll discuss that with everybody here and put it out for bid. Hot 6 also I've been dealing with. We had to worry about the width of the wingspan on their airplane because it happens to be a model that has the widest wingspan, so that will affect the design of the ramp a little bit. And then we discussed getting a water balance briefing out, and I don't remember where we left that, Tom. I remember we were going to try to set up a meeting on what we learned.
Yeah, we've not done anything about that.
So I got a request in for the link to the cloud that we can drop that through instead of getting an email. It's too big a briefing package, and we can set that up, and I'll get the link to all of us to take a look at. And that's all I got right now. Thanks.
Okay. Obviously, we had our BOCC meeting at the airport, as Commissioner Prince mentioned, on the 17th. Then we all 3 attended that workshop on overtime and comp time that afternoon. On the 18th, I sat in on a DTR radio grant review with Christy Doon from DOLA. And then met later out at the airport, as Commissioner Kanda mentioned, to look at reviewing a grant that the airport board is submitting, or we're submitting on behalf of the airport board. And then attended the E911 board meeting on the 18th as well, search and rescue building, and then attended an open house at the Central Colorado Escrow and Title Company that evening. I bring that up because our former administrative assistant, Miss Brenda Gady, is managing that office, so it was fun. Commissioner Prince was there.
Making a lot of press, isn't she?
Yeah.
Business.
So then on the 19th of April, I attended a meeting with the architect from CU Denver and one of his students to look at the fairgrounds and their strategic plan. On the 23rd of April, I went out and sat in on part of the cottage food safety course that was presented, or that was coordinated by our extension office, and brought in a speaker from Salida to conduct that. It was a 3-hour food safety course. That was nice. And then on the 24th, I met with a gentleman by the name of Brandon Thompson, who was a reporter from Fox 21 News, conducted an interview with him. And then on the 25th, I also attended a roundtable discussion with Congressman Tipton down at the Westcliff Library in the morning. And then as Commissioner Prince indicated, I also met with him here in the afternoon of the 25th. So we had a good meeting, good discussion with him.
What were they talking about on
Chief of Staff.
Fox News? Just an overall.
Water augmentation plan. Yeah, sorry, I failed to mention that. Yeah, so it was good to sit and visit with Congressman Tipton, and his chief of staff was with him, as well as his, I don't know what the title of Brian was down in Pueblo, but he ran his Pueblo office, director.
Director of the office.
So
Business card.
that was my calendar schedule. I also am pleased, don't mean to steal any thunder, pleased to announce that We are now in possession of one, I'll show you a picture,
Uh-huh.
one
Truck.
pickup for the landfill.
Yep.
So we got that. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
He
but
said it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's good.
My response to him was, it was so nice that I think it should be a commissioner vehicle.
Yeah.
And he can keep that old piece of junk he had.
Right, so,
Yeah, where do we put the commissioner tag on it?
yeah, so we got that. And then I just wanted to throw out a couple other topics to get some conversation started. I think probably eventually these will end up on the agenda, but I visited with Sheriff Byler a little bit about our computer-aided dispatch center over in the sheriff's office, and I think we are going to have to make a move at figuring out a way to finance that. Besides the county covering the cost of that, I think we're gonna have to look at all the users and see about approaching that on some kind of a use fee or something. That we have got to get a little more competitive for our salaries over there. I know Sheriff Biley's struggling, trying to keep that dispatch center fully staffed of 6, correct, Sheriff? Or
Correct.
would be considered a full staff. He's down right now. He has one person in training, and they just lost, in the process of losing one of their dispatchers. So I think we need to have a discussion about that at some point, and certainly probably will bleed over into the CES and E911 meetings, I would guess. But I just wanted to throw that out and see, number one, if you guys had any opinions or thoughts about that.
I find it appalling that a dispatcher who has a person or people's life in their hands makes less money than if they went to work first day over at the dollar store. That bothers me a lot,
Yeah.
and I absolutely commend this opportunity to try and get those salaries up. This is just, it's abominable. It's just terrible. How could we do that? A clerk makes more than your starting dispatchers, as you know. It kills me. So, yes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. However, in order to do something about that, I believe we're going to have to look at
Well, let's get
generating some revenue.
let's get it going.
So if it's all right, we can, I don't know if we're going to put that on the agenda or wait and discuss it at CES, E911. E911 meets quarterly, so I hate to sit back now and wait for that next meeting, but maybe we ought to just stick it on our May 7 or 8 agenda and move forward with it. I don't know. Sheriff Byerly, any comments about that? Or
You could do that, or maybe even if you wanted to do a workshop where we could invite in the other entities from the special tax districts.
We could all ought to talk about it.
Ultimately, we have 7 consulates over there, which represent 7 different entities or departments within the entire county, from EMS to Road and Bridge to the school district. So it'll affect all 7 of those entities, so I would think that they would want to at least listen in and have some input. If I were them, I would.
yeah. Well, I would move we schedule a workshop on Wednesday, May 8th in the afternoon, starting at 1 o'clock. And let's just call it a dispatch workshop, dispatch center.
1 o'clock.
I'm just throwing that out there, get some traction. We'll be here, obviously, we have a meeting that day.
I'm fine, but I'd like to get some input from the entities that we'd be seeking
Got enough time.
money from, so.
Well, and they should be at that meeting. You mean about the date, or?
Yeah.
Oh,
We need to make
well,
sure we get
if one of you want to take that on, you're more than welcome.
Ah,
I'm fine with setting a date, and if they want to be here, they'll be here.
Okay.
I will be the first to admit a certain amount of frustration with the CES attendance, so that, or 911, I'm sorry, the 911 board meeting. very poorly attended, and these entities that we're talking about are all part of that. So if you guys, if one of you gentlemen would like to take that and try to glean a date, I'm fine with that too. I'd withdraw my motion if you want to do
Is
that.
that this Wednesday?
May 8th.
May 8th.
No, let's do May 8th, and let's see how it goes, and if we need to adjust it, we'll adjust it. But I have no issue with May 8th.
I guess before you do anything, you brought this up as another discussion, but procedurally, should we be doing this to talk about when to schedule things during public comment? I don't know, just kind
No,
of, I
Commissioner,
just want to keep that.
Yeah.
Commissioner,
I
I
think
think it's
we're
fine.
okay.
All right,
I'd ask
wanted to get that for future.
Meredith if you would please contact all of the entities, and you get the list of them from the sheriff, if you don't know them off the top of your head, and invite them to this workshop. So
If I get a
can't-
second to my motion.
I'll second.
We're actually having a
I
workshop.
apologize.
Well,
I thought we already seconded.
No,
it.
I'll second it.
All right.
we got on to discussion.
Got
The
it.
movement seconded to hold a workshop on May the 8th at 1 o'clock. I just labeled it a dispatch center workshop. Further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Point well taken, sir.
1,300.
Because if they are invited and don't show, that's on them, not on us.
That's exactly my point. Yep. And then also wanted to have just a brief discussion about a workplace violence class that is scheduled June the 12th. John Wagner from CTSI will be putting on 2 half-day classes. I would like to reach out to all the supervisors and ask them to encourage their employees. I'm not sure that it needs to be a required attendance, but again, I would certainly entertain some input from you gentlemen
When
about
is it?
that. June 12th.
12 June.
9 to 11:30 in the morning,
Where?
courtroom,
Is,
and 1:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. Sheriff Byerly has taken the lead on that, scheduled that, he reached out, tried to get some input. So that's on the schedule, and certainly I think we're gonna have it in the courtroom to make sure we have enough room for employees that
Where's
want to
the
attend.
dispatch?
Yeah.
Gonna be discussed here, in this room.
That's a good point. Yeah, let's have the dispatch workshop in the commissioner's room. Is that all right by consent, gentlemen?
did you say June 12th?
June 12th, yes.
And
Discussion
that's
of
just a
this.
point of, so that's CTSI is doing that training though, that's
Right,
not.
yeah,
okay,
it's
so
not.
that's there.
Sheriff Byerly kind of arranged it, CTSI is doing the training.
Yeah, but when he was here to do that risk analysis and all that, he said, hey, when's the last time you guys have done that? And I said, well, technically, I'm not really in charge over there at the county building, but we haven't done one in a long time.
Thought you were?
And he said, well, can you, so sure.
Yeah,
We've
That's how
never,
that's how that happened.
we've never done one here.
right,
I've been asking for one for
right.
several
And we
years,
talked about
and
it
so
at a
that'll be
earlier.
good.
Yeah, and
staff
they
meeting.
volunteer to do a lot of that.
Yeah, and then we also were hoping to do some type of a drill, like, just even just a fire drill, but, and I sent
Yes.
you an email, we don't have an evacuation plan for this building, and Mike had tried to work with Chief Tonsing a while back about it, but I think never took traction, because again, I mean, we're kind of limited in our scope over here, rightly so, and so maybe if you, the three of you could drive that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mike Halpin's more than happy to help.
I would suggest we also put that on the agenda and ask Mike to come in, and we'll just hammer out the details and move forward. It's the only way we're gonna get any traction is if we stick it on an agenda and
He
get
and
it as
Kit,
an action
I
item.
think Kit's gotta be a key
Okay,
player in that.
okay. May 5th, Ms. Meredith, do you mind putting that on the agenda? Evacuation court,
What date?
county building
5 May, he
evacuation.
said.
7:30.
7th.
I don't know where he got. So what,
County building evacuation plan,
so this is the third
May
meeting,
7th.
May 7th?
Mm-hmm.
Did you vote on
You
that?
have
No.
the CDOT review that.
On which,
date for the dispatch?
Yes,
That was 8 May at 1.
we voted on that.
On the 7th, we have, after the BOCC meeting, we have the CDOT review.
Right, yeah, I just thought we ought to put it on the agenda and talk about it in May.
The seventh may not be the best day for Mike Halpin. He may not be able to come to that.
Just to come in and talk?
Yeah, he's got something from 10 to 11:30
Okay.
or so. So if it was early,
He could do it
in
the
the day,
first thing.
We put it on the 8th? Yeah, let's do that then.
thank you.
Yeah, just an agenda item, and then
agenda
we'll
item.
get some traction going, maybe pick a date, I don't know, we'll see how that pans out. That's all I had, gentlemen. Anything else on commissioner items? Okay, I have nothing to report from the Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District, other than we did get a communication from Manager Skanga reporting that he was a speaker at the recent Arkansas Basin Roundtable Annual Conference in Pueblo last week, and he just sent out a little press release, said that he had talked about water augmentation down there. I did not go that day, I had a conflict, so. Attorney items.
Just a couple of things. One, I contacted Bob Johnson, Robert Johnson at Riley and Johnson, the firm that we've agreed to work with on the Justice Center. He promised me he would have the proposed contract for the first phase to me by 5 o'clock today. So as soon as I get that, I'll look it over and I can report to you at our next meeting. If he doesn't send copies to all of you also and to the sheriff, I'll forward it to all of you so you can all see it ahead of time. And then the only other thing, the lawyer, water specialist that you wanted to talk to, if you would like sometime, maybe during the recess today, if you want me to call and see if I can set up a time on May 1st. You said May 1st didn't work for you, but maybe May 2nd or May 3rd, which is later this week or sometime next week.
So Clint, I've been out of the loop, but did you talk to all three?
I talked
You
to
figured
Steve
on-
Monson, and I talked then,
Okay.
and he referred me, and actually to this David Showett. They all specialize
Okay,
exclusively in water loss. I think they're pretty much all, and what he doesn't know, he can certainly find out from Steve Monson, who's Randy Rust's
Right.
attorney. So I think any one of these three could certainly answer all the questions that you have. And his only request, he said he had some time, he could certainly fit you all in. And he would like to see your questions in writing so he had an idea of what your areas of concern were. So, if you want me to call
No.
during the break and see if I can get some tentative dates and times.
And I've got it, of course, but just so I don't have to go back in my email, look it up, his name again.
David Showett, Shohet.
SHO.
And he's
HET.
with Munson's firm.
It's Munson, Cummins, and Showett, LLC.
If it's possible, could you see if they are available either on the 13th or the 15th or the 17th?
If you can all agree on a couple of dates, I can certainly do
Which were
that.
those, sir?
I was.
May?
Yeah, May 13th, 15th, or 17th. We have an airport board meeting on the 16th and a tourism board meeting on the 14th.
The tourism board meeting on the 14th was canceled.
Okay, then the 14th would work also.
So the
And I'm
14th
assuming the three of you would be willing to travel up to Colorado Springs to meet with him instead of having
Sure.
him
What
come.
what day are we looking at, guys?
I'm just throwing out 13th, 14th, 15th, or 17th.
I can't do anything past the 15th.
How about the 13th or the 14th?
That'll work either way.
Central Front Range Transportation Planning Region is on the 13th in Canyon City. 14th, Colorado Springs, correct, sir?
Yes.
So 14th or 15th would work for me in the morning. And you said 16, 17 didn't work?
I won't
Yeah,
work.
Bill said he's not available after the 15th.
How about the 14th?
I can do it.
Let's see, if the attorney's available.
Okay,
Are
well,
you available on the
Give him
14th?
both those
I'm
days.
fine on the 14th.
pardon?
Morning,
So
sir.
give him both those days as a window.
14 and
Let's push
13
toward
and
the
14.
14th first, if we can do it.
And as an alternative,
And I don't care what time necessarily, I can adjust.
you said morning would work?
Morning, I've got a meeting in the afternoon on the 14th.
Okay. See spring somewhere, huh?
So May 14 a.m.
Commissioner Prince?
I'm fine.
Okay, well, I'll check with him, and if that doesn't work, I'll,
Okay. Yeah, we may get an answer yet today, huh?
well, as far as the actual date, yeah, I'll definitely, unless he's not in the office.
Right.
But I'm sure
You
his
can try.
secretary can handle his scheduling.
We'll figure
if he's
it
not
out.
in.
And if not, 15th would be fine for me in the morning as well.
Can't do it.
Okay.
Oh, they said after the
Just
14th.
those Monday, Tuesday, is all. I
Oh.
can't, 15 on, I can't do it.
Okay, so
So right now, it's just the
just
14th.
14th, yeah.
All right, I'll talk to him and see if that works.
Um,
That's all I had for attorney items.
All right, sir, thank you.
Are any of you attending that water law seminar?
I am, yes.
Are you? Yeah. Sounded like that might be.
That's on the 10th.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, thank you. Admin assistant items other than trying to keep us up and running this morning?
I got them fixed, we're good.
Did you? Okay, so we're back streaming again?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, ma'am?
No.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. All hearts peaceful and quiet this morning?
Just to let you know, so later today I will send Mr. Smith a rough draft of a proposed new burn ordinance. I know we've been working on that and talked about that last fall, Clint.
Right.
So I finally just took it upon myself. I've done it. I've run it by Kit and Cindy at OAM.
Oh, I knew if I stalled long enough, you'd do my job for me, so thank you.
No, it wasn't, no, this is not, this is,
how it
there was
works.
a lot of, we were getting so much input that you couldn't keep track of the changes and suggestions and all that, and so it's taken me a few months to go through and try to cipher through all the stuff, and so now that I think we have one document that all the entities agree on, we'll send it to Clint, and then Clint can mark all up, all the little legalities that we didn't follow, and once that's done, then it should be ready. My plan is that we can get it moving through your meetings and get a first and second reading and get it in place before the burn season and all the campfires and everything starts and all the calls come in about can I set up my Traeger grill and stuff. So just want to let you know.
Okay. You want to shoot towards May 22nd Commissioner meeting in Wetmore to deal with that? Think we can have it online and ready to go by then?
I would think so.
If he gets it to me, I certainly can have it all ready for a first reading.
And then that put our second and final reading on the 31st, and then should be good for
It doesn't even
June.
have to be that far, it could be the middle of June. If you're talking about first reading, it's only 14 days until the next one.
Yeah, it'd have to be June 6th, then we couldn't do it on the 31st. That's only 9 days between readings.
Well, which I thought, let me see.
I would just like to try to have it in place before the summer
When you said the
season.
27th, I guess I'm not.
22nd of May.
Oh, 22nd, I can have it for then, yeah. I thought you said 27th.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I should have had it to Clint sooner, so we could have had it in place before Memorial Day. That's my.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
guess,
so we'll miss it a little, second
it'll be
reading,
okay.
yeah, second reading as soon as could be.
June 6th.
We're not gonna be in burn restrictions before Memorial Day. I wouldn't Thanks.
Hope not, yeah.
Not today?
Miss Meredith,
Fridays.
burn ordinance, review of burn ordinance, first reading on the 22nd, second and final reading on the 6th.
Clint, would that be 1902? Because we've only had one so far this year, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Other public comment. Okay, staff report. Miss Virginia forwarded on her material to us. Get the right document pulled up.
She comment?
No,
No, she wasn't able to make it.
I would move to accept the report.
I'll second.
Been moving and seconded to accept the treasurer's report for the month of March. Discussion.
I have a discussion.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Without here explaining what is.
Loudly enough, please, for our microphone.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I know that's an issue.
I'm
Yeah.
struggling this morning myself.
Yeah. Is this something that must be done today?
She asked that we do it, provided Kelly with the original document. You have some consternation?
Well, I hate to approve this report without her confirming to us that there are no anomalies.
I
or
asked her
any-
specifically if there was anything we needed to really look at. She said no, everything is business as usual.
Okay.
If you want to wait, that's
No, it's-
entirely.
No, I'll go ahead and approve it. I know she does great work, and I'm just concerned about, I don't want to set this as a precedent. I want to hear it from the person who's asking us to approve it.
Yeah, and I think you also visited with her, Miss Kelly.
Yeah, she just gave me the original for you to sign.
Okay. Is that a second?
Well, it was seconded already, was it
Yeah.
not?
Did you
Yeah.
second it? Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the monthly March report. Hearing no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.
She also had, did you get her quarterly public trustee report?
No, I don't believe so. Let me make sure it wasn't on the bottom.
I didn't receive
No.
it.
You didn't get it? So this, she had to report that quarterly,
Okay.
and that was, and I don't think, that's just more for your information and you don't sign it or
I think
anything.
it's just a statutory requirement she has to file.
Okay.
You don't have to vote on it.
Any unfinished business, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Nor do I. Mr. Campbell? There you go. We'll move on to new business. We've got a fairly lengthy agenda today. We will allow for public comment on any action items prior to us voting. Our first item of business is the special events permit for the Hardscrabble Mountain Trail Run, sponsored by San Isabel Land Trust. Madam Clerk?
Okay, so this, actually San Isabel Land Protection Trust applies for this, and it's for their hardscrabble run that they have.
And the special events permit includes, or is specifically a liquor license?
Yeah, it's just a short term, it's just for a short period of term, or short.
So it's a short-term liquor license
Right.
application? It's not for the event itself? Or
No,
does it include both?
no,
Okay.
that is a zoning thing, and I'm not sure what Jackie does with, how she handles that. But this is just for the alcohol.
The alcohol during that event.
During the event, yes. Which this event is on June 1st, out at Bear Basin, and she's given me all the paperwork, so
Has this event taken place prior to this? Last year they did?
yeah.
We approved it last year.
Yeah,
as
they've
well.
done it several years
I
now.
remember that.
Yeah.
And did they have alcohol last time also?
Yes.
Any incidents, any issues? Thank you.
When we discuss it, I
They're
move
a
we accept the
well-behaved
permit.
crowd, aren't they?
Well, second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the application for a special events permit for Sandersville Land Trust. Discussion. There's a fee involved.
Yes, 25 to us and 25 to the state.
Okay. There's paperwork you're welcome to look at. Shows their site plan.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the special events permit, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Did you make the motion or second?
Jay second.
Jay second. Did you see where you signed there? Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next item of business. Consideration of waiving the landfill fees for the West Cliff June 1st cleanup. Miss Kathy, welcome. Good morning. How are you?
So we're cleaning up, are we?
Well, we're trying.
Thank you. So you can pull that chair out. You're welcome to have a seat. It's kind of a wrestling match sometimes.
First thing before we get in that, I want to let you know that we did not get our GOCO grant for the tennis court, so we don't need our $3,000.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's true. It was a bummer.
Any reasons you want to share with us, or?
Yep, there was lack of users groups and youth not being involved. Not enough public input. There was one senior group pushing it, and the reviewers didn't go for that. Okay. Okay, we're requesting you to waive the fees for landfill for our cleanup June 1st. We're not taking tires this year, and we are taking mattresses, and we will keep track of those and pay for them.
Why did you decide not to take tires?
Because people from the county come in and dump them.
Which is our conversation from last year.
Yeah.
Yes, pure and simple, that's what's happening.
Okay.
And, you know, there's all the places when you go take your tires and get new ones, they can take them for you now, so, with fee. So that is why we're not.
Probably not a lot of them out there, if that's the case, right?
We ended up with quite a few last year, so did Silver Cliff.
Yes.
I'll move that we approve the waiving of the landfill fees for the town of West Cliff for their June 1st cleanup day.
You want the honor?
Been
I'll second.
okay. It's been moved and seconded to waive the landfills for the June 1st cleanup day for the town of West Cliff.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Go ahead.
I apologize. I
No,
interrupted you. I
that's-
apologize.
Go ahead, sir. I can wait.
Batteries, refrigerators, those type of things?
Those will go out to P-Bar-O. They will take those just like they did Oak did last year.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing's changed there. Yep.
I don't know what the fee is for mattresses. Do you?
I think it's $7 per, I believe.
7? Okay. And so you're saying the town of West Cliff will pay that?
Yes, we will.
Okay. Nothing else on the fee schedule that,
No.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
How come you guys are doing it on different days?
2 different trash companies.
Oh,
We couldn't get our
They're
schedule
competing,
together.
aren't they?
That was one
No,
of my big pet
no.
peeves, it should be done in one
on
day.
the
and then
same day,
I
yeah.
asked that same question.
P-Bar-O couldn't do it the same day as Silver Cliff because of a conflict with the person driving the truck. So we are going to try to do that next year. Get it
Are they
one day.
back-to-back days or week to
We
week?
no, we would like it the same day.
No, but what's happening then?
Yeah, one's May 18th and ours is June 1st.
Wow.
Silver Cliff wanted theirs done before Memorial Day. And they have voted to set it for the third weekend in May every year.
So we will try to get that done as well for next year. Because it's a benefit to both towns. We help each other out when, we get done first or vice versa.
That is the deal.
Yeah.
Well, it'll work one way or the other.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of waiving the landfill fees, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Consider that done, ma'am.
Thank you very
We will
much.
indicate such to Mr. Christensen via email. And we will move on then for the,
So what happened to the CDOT letter?
consideration of the letter to CDOT about lowering speed limits.
Okay, as you all know, we have made, go ahead, sorry.
This is really not correct.
Okay.
On the agenda. This is a letter to senators.
Yeah, to senators.
About CDOT.
Okay.
I just want to clarify that. I'm
It's
just
not
No,
to
thank you. No,
CDOT,
thank
it's
you.
to who?
The
Two
senators.
senators.
Thank you for that.
We have a
Appreciate
major issue with speed limits on certain areas. We've tried to get things done with CDOT. They don't want to cooperate. They always throw back in our face, well, we'll do a study, and if it shows the speed is higher, we'll increase the speed instead of lower it. And somebody has to die before you can lower the speed
So
limit.
where is it exactly?
In front of the school, also out here by JR's, there's several areas. We just need to get them reduced. So our attorney drafted this letter. We'd like all three entities, the county, town of Silver Cliff and West Cliff, and the sheriff to sign off on it and get it sent in, see if we get any traction.
Does state of speed or uniform speed in all areas, or does it
Well,
tell you
just to
anything?
lower the speed limit in front of the school and coming into town.
But my question is, are we specifying what we would like to see it to be, or are we gonna let it be up to them to say, CDOT, what do you think, and have CDOT say the same thing?
We just want them to lower it.
They may not.
I don't know where you want to go with that. For your
If I
thoughts.
may, what I was hoping is that the senators would go to CDOT and say, CDOT, work with the towns in the
We'll
county.
figure out what it ought to be.
And then we could sit down and work out some kind of respective plans that the sheriff's in favor of and that we could all live
That
with. That
letter
was
sort of
the
said-
hope.
I sent it. Did you get a
I
copy?
haven't seen it. I didn't get a chance to read it.
And also, Eileen, do you guys have problems in Silver Cliff coming in? You need that reduced down?
We've been asking for, since I've been there, we've asked almost twice a year and we get the same answers.
So well
Yeah,
drafted.
I didn't get to open it. I had a problem yesterday with it.
That's okay.
Interesting that you said that because I struggled with a couple of sentences in there, but that's just me.
And if we need to, if you have input on changing the letter, let us know, and we can certainly do that. I'm going to Silver Cliff's meeting to present it as well. So if we could get it cleaned up before then, would be great.
Yeah. When do you want us in?
After West Cliff's meeting on the 7th, we'd like to get it sent after that. So do you have any suggested changes in the letter?
I'll let you know.
I did.
'Cause I'm-
If you want to hold on a second. I guess when I first read this, I think you told me subsequent to me reading it that you were involved in writing it. That third paragraph, no one, including CDOT, knows the roads in the two towns in the county better than our residents and elected officials. Are you talking about the highways as well? With the roads? I mean, certainly CDOT knows the highways.
Yeah, the highways come through our two towns that affect
Right.
us, so yes.
So I struggled with no one, including CDOT, knows the roads better than we do. I take exception to that. I believe CDOT knows these highways very well. If that's what we're talking about, is highways and the
My
roads,
feeling-
or...
Well, my feeling, I'm not trying to defend it, and I'll be happy to change it. My feeling is we drive them every single day. We, the county, the towns, we know where the dangerous spots are because we're here every day. The sheriff knows because he's writing tickets and he's enforcing the law every day. CDOT's not sitting here counting cars, watching how fast they go, those kind of things. That's why I believe that sentence was put in there.
Okay. And so,
Do you have any suggested changes to that?
I'm working on that, yes.
Okay.
Oh, not to that, no, that's fine,
Okay.
that's fine. I thought you meant on the whole letter, sorry.
No, just that part.
And then so, I just struggled with exactly where you're talking about. It says along highways 69 and 96.
That's the only
So-
highways we have.
We can get more
Specifically,
specific.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I had
Where's
the
your
same.
concern? Is
Coming
it in
in-
front of the school only?
No, coming into Silver Cliff, actually all the way from Silver Cliff coming in to Antlers, from Antlers going out. Actually, be
Nothing
coming in.
south of, or west of Antlers, going out of town, rodeo ground.
No, I don't
So,
seem to be having any
I
problems with
think we're
it.
getting too deep into the weeds in this, because what we're asking the senators to do is to go to CDOT and say, work with the people over in Custer
So that's what we
County.
ought to say, Jim.
I mean, saying specifically, you know, this stretch of road here, this stretch of road there. I'm not sure that's really necessary to the letter to the senators. Maybe
No,
when
I agree.
CDOT sits
It ought
down,
to
we could
be-
say, here's our concerns, once we have a dialogue with
Sure.
them. That's my feeling, but
The two highways that go through the city limits
Yep.
of Silver Cliff,
Correct.
in specific areas that we want you to come and work out with us. You know, you can rewrite that.
Okay.
So the guts of the thing is the last sentence, correct? That we're asking them for any assistance that they can
Correct.
give the county.
Well, the two towns too.
Okay, that needs to be in here then, I
We
think.
need to get them to put some pressure on CDOT to lower these speed limits. Quit telling us that, oh, well, we'll do a study and increase it. You can't slow traffic down, it causes more wrecks, and you have to wait till somebody is killed before anything can happen. Those are the answers that we get.
Have we ever asked them to lower the bills? The
Yes,
towns?
many, many, many times, many. And those are the answers we get.
I think that's why I'm focusing on the city
Yeah,
limits.
no, yeah, we have.
What's the board's pleasure?
Well, I think we ought to, for sure, support a letter, and we ought to help you. We'll give you our input on what might be the changes, and you ought to come back and we'll just circulate it through the email, I think.
'Cause
probably
the-
best way to get
The
it.
letter, we need it to come from all three entities.
So you wanna put it out on the 7th, that's the next.
And we don't
meeting.
have to, I mean,
Well,
we've got time to
shoot
work
for
on
it.
it, yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
If Jay, if
and
you
I'm
want.
not married to this. I mean, I'll change it any way that makes the most sense for everybody involved.
Get all the other
Well,
ways to get
So if we can
it.
get some changes to that, and then we'll
Right.
email it back for,
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, sir, and absolutely, please, with all respect. When I read this letter, I thought, I hate to send this letter in this form to two Colorado state senators. I kind of struggled with it until we got down to the very end of exactly what we were wanting. And if we're going to ask them to put pressure on CDOT, let's ask them to put pressure on CDOT. That's the way I look at it. If you can do anything
we can revamp it.
and
Yeah, you're asking, Tom's right. Have we ever sent a letter to the director of CDOT, or do we just send it to the district guys?
We haven't sent a letter, well, we have sent a letter, West Cliff has in the past, and we sent it to our region.
You hit the chain of command, and I'm sure the director would be concerned if he sees his guys ignoring people.
I met
I
with
don't
the
know.
director
Did
personally
you?
of CDOT about this issue about a year ago
He just
at a
showed you
CCI
something.
meeting. And he said, we'll look into it. And when I called back, he didn't even remember we spoke.
But we never send three entities signing something to them.
No.
I think this, you know, I like the idea of all the entities
I do.
signing one letter.
As
If
do
you
I.
want to write something different, I'm fine.
I also wonder, out of respect to CDOT, if they shouldn't be carbon copied this letter.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'm
And
not
put in
sure
there
it
That's why I
would
was
be-
working the issue of we should send something to them first to
And I
disagree
added that
with.
they have worked with us
Yes.
favorably, and they have.
They
I mean,
had,
Yeah.
because they
But
they
not
jumped
in-
on,
But
Right,
this
but not
one
about this.
particular
Right.
issue is one that
Right.
we've been stonewalled on.
And we certainly sat right here in the commissioner's boardroom and talked with CDOT and all of those reps. There were 5 or 6 of them at that meeting. And they told us the same thing. I questioned them specifically, is it going to take somebody getting killed in front of that school for you to do something? Yeah, I hate to admit it, but yes, it probably is.
And that's ridiculous.
Unacceptable.
can't say it.
And so, and he told us the same thing, that be careful what you ask for. We may study the speed limit and decide that it's not high enough. They may raise the speed limit.
But that's
So,
what, now if they're hot though, they did respond pretty well. maybe now's a good time to send a letter, and then next step of it, hit them hard with a free agency letter.
I don't have a problem sending it to the senators.
CDOT.
I would, to be honest with you, with all respect, again, like to see it rewritten a little bit
Yeah,
and
changes.
include carbon copy, the
Could do that.
director of transportation at CDOT. I just hate for him to get quote unquote blindsided and say, hey, I got a letter from these three yahoos up there in Custer County. What do you know about that? And he'll say, I don't know anything about it. And
Well, what you didn't see at the bottom of this was the signature blocks. That included it included both mayors, it included the sheriff, it included the three of us.
Okay.
For whatever reason,
so
it
that's
wasn't.
4 entities then, not 3, correct?
Correct.
Would be everybody signing it.
Yeah.
It'll have more impact if all the elected officials sign it.
That's
From all
why I
three.
would like to see, just me talking, same thing, that I would rather see that sent to the CDOT guy first. Cause you think it's blind, whether he's carbon copying or not, is irrelevant, he's
Well-
gonna get it hit.
Well, we could
without
do
the
that,
chance
send
to-
it-
This for
a
10
chance to
years,
not do
asking
it.
them to help us with this,
Yeah,
and
but we
they,
haven't done it the way
turned
we're
us-
doing it now.
I think
And they
it's
haven't,
time.
we've got the response that we've had from them now, I'm just looking, we got some leverage we didn't have in the past, I know.
I understand what you're saying, but if this was our first salvo at please help us, I would say obviously go through CDOT first. But we've been to CDOT for over 10 years now. That's in there because you have confirmed to me that for at least 10 years, we've asked them to look
Yeah.
into this. And in fact,
So
that sign that slows people down, that flashes the speed, they've given us all kinds of cramps over that.
Yeah.
You know, the town has just adamantly said, too bad, we're leaving it up.
So it's 25 now, we want it lower?
It's 25 in the school, during school hours, and 30 otherwise. We need it lowered coming in through Silver Cliff,
Cause it's 40 through Silver
Right.
Cliff. Pretty
and
high.
even coming in this way, it needs to be lowered. I mean, you've got kids walking on
Well,
both,
that's why we ought to do the whole
yeah,
city limits.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered if, when I read this letter, if I was a senator, say, well, I don't really know exactly what these guys want. I can call the CDOT guy and say, hey, these people want you to lower the speed limit.
And they're gonna say, well,
I'm all for it. Don't misunderstand that.
No, I get that.
I've fought this ever since I was teaching school, that stinking speed limit's too
Yeah,
high.
it is.
So I'm not against the whole idea. I would just like to see this letter a little more pointed with respect to what Commissioner Prince said. I still think that those senators need to say, hey, these people want you to lower the speed limit coming into the town of Silver Cliff from the west, going out of the town
Well,
of
coming
West
in,
Cliff.
coming in. Coming in on this side here, coming in.
I was getting to
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
Coming in from the,
Right.
to the west into Silver Cliff, going south out of West Cliff, correct? No issues with
and
going north out of West
well, if
Cliff,
we're
'cause
gonna
I
do
do,
it,
but
we ought to do all of it.
Where's Shannon's not here? I wonder if we have any,
We got the main second guy.
do we have any issues coming out on north,
You mean north of,
on 69?
not that I'm aware of.
Not a lot of tickets given out that direction?
We give some tickets out there, but far more,
Right.
south of town here,
Right.
between Ace and
right,
JR's.
yeah. And we've had,
Tons of tickets
this
there.
board has fielded some complaints about the speed going north of town.
Well, you need to add that in.
As somebody that used to live off the Pines Road, it's not good. I don't know how many
That needs
times
to
I've almost
slow
been
down, coming
rear-ended
in sooner.
because they're going too fast through there.
And we've certainly had fatalities north of town as well, so
We need to add those areas then.
I would think. So I'm,
So you're gonna
I
give us a
would
rough
disagree.
draft back with all these
Yes.
discussion points in
Yeah.
it.
We will,
And we'll see if we can take another shot at it.
you bet. We will do that.
that would be my ask, I guess, is to,
So if we get the letter right, you're willing to sign it?
oh, absolutely.
Okay,
no
that's what we
problem.
need to know.
Yeah, no,
Because this definitely was a draft. And we'll tell Silver Cliff the same thing, because they may have input what they want in it as well. And maybe we need to send it to CDOT first and copy the senators on it, and then send one to the senators. And copy it
I'm
back.
not in favor of
Different ways
that.
of
I'll
doing
do
it.
what the consensus
I don't have a
is.
problem sending it to the senators, but I would certainly be adamant about including a copy to the
Sure.
I'm fine.
director
I
as well.
agree, I
just-
agree
I
with
think
that.
we'd be shooting ourselves long-term in the foot if we set him up to be blindsided without having any idea.
And I don't know how often the director changes. I know they've had some staff changing in our region in the upper levels.
I think they just did.
Yeah, they did. So that director particularly may not know the history of the 10 years we've been trying to get it reduced.
Yeah, no issues from this chair about doing it, just a matter of how we go about getting it done.
Okay.
Would you like to be back on the agenda,
7 May.
or how would you like to proceed moving forward? You said you're meeting with the Silver Cliff Town when?
And our board meeting's on the 7th, so it's gonna have to be after that.
Yeah.
So we can get input from both boards. When's the next one?
8th.
7th and 8th and the 22nd.
What time on the 8th?
Same.
We have staff reports that day, so it'd probably be around 10-ish.
Okay. Because we'll go through the staff reports prior to the new.
What's the next date?
22.
If that's in San Isabel, isn't it?
Wetmore.
Or Wetmore,
Yeah, I'm not going to
San
Wetmore.
Isabel's June.
Yeah,
Thinking
June
about-
6th.
Oh,
June 6th is the meeting here.
Yeah, this is going to send a letter to.
That might be better, give us time to really work through
Look
it.
it up really right.
Yeah.
Get right.
Don't
The
just-
6th is okay.
What time on the 6th?
Well, it's a commissioner meeting. Your guess is as good as mine. But
9 to noon.
on what date? Sorry.
June
The
6th,
6th.
get staff reports again, so it would probably be around 10.
Yeah.
That you would get to that
so
at dinner.
just so that I'm clear, what we're looking to do on this letter, because I suspect I'll be the one amending it, unless someone else wants to, I'm fine. We want to be more specific as to where we want this intervention to occur. Is that correct? Was there any, well, help me.
Yes.
Okay, was there anything else? I'm happy to do whatever you
Right.
want. I mean, I
Right.
just need direction.
Right.
Why don't we circulate the comments that everybody's gonna have, she's gonna synthesize something together and we can circulate it and then we
That'd be a
each
good idea.
make a copy out of it. We can
Yeah.
Put this out.
dot it, put a comma and do all that kind of stuff and
Right.
let her get a final draft of it
Okay,
after
we
we've
can
all
do
had
that.
a chance.
Yeah. Get input from the other two boards and,
Yeah. I get the general feeling that obviously you wanted to express some frustration and
Concern.
intolerance for what has gone on in the past. I get that. I just want us to keep in mind, we're sending this letter on behalf of the county commissioners to 2 state senators. I would like it written with that in mind. That's where I'm coming
How
from.
would you do that differently?
I'm not sure. I read through that and I just am kind of sharing my knee-jerk reactions when I first read the letter, thinking, not sure I want to sign this going to 2 state senators.
No, we're throwing out like, somebody has to
No.
die.
Well-
And we'll raise it, that's okay, but you gotta be careful how we say that.
Right. Well, for example, and I don't
Because
mean to be
he made it
involved.
offhanded comment.
Okay.
You don't hurt my feelings.
Yeah, the words "this is absurd." I struggle with that going to 2 state senators. I just think there would be better ways to explain to them that we are unhappy, dissatisfied with the results that we've never gotten, or whatever that is.
would you like to help draft that?
No, not particularly.
Get
But
it
it's one of those deals, if
Work.
you're willing to complain, you should be willing to help. I will certainly sit with Commissioner Prince and have a further discussion if he's willing to do that, but that was my concern, I'm just trying to be honest, that's it. So, I don't know that we even have a motion on the floor, I don't think we did. I'm assuming that we would want a carbon copy Bob Pfeiffer. You want to jot his information down on that business card right there? That would be my guess, unless you had someone
No,
else.
I had every
Pfeiffer's,
intention, I had every intention of CCing him.
You're the right guys.
The rest of the letter you didn't see where the signature blocks I had put in. That's those 4.
Okay, see, and I thought it was the 2 towns. in the
No,
city.
no.
There's a
Five.
district guy, and I think,
It's 3 of 6. 3 of us,
Right,
2 mayors, and the sheriff.
right,
and the sheriff, I'm just hearing about the sheriff today, I didn't know they were
The sheriff was part
going
of
to be a
this.
signatory.
He was there when this came up at the West Cliff Town meeting. He was there, and he advocated this also. So
Okay.
he was definitely part of this discussion.
Yeah, it's been a community effort trying to get this done,
Oh,
and
no question.
we're not getting any response. Well, not getting good response.
And then probably addressing it to the two senators and CC and Pfeiffer would be the appropriate way to do it.
Make sure
versus
Pfeiffer's the right guy, 'cause
putting all
sure
three
he is.
in my head.
No, I think CC
Okay.
for,
Because you're not writing it to him, you're writing it to them.
I want I'm asking the senators for
Right.
Yeah, we need the senator's help, I think, to get hopefully some response from CDOT.
I could send it to Trump if you want.
Can hook you up.
Might be a little overkill.
But, okay, so we'll come back with another letter and we'll send out a draft to everybody after we meet with the other two boards.
Just if there's any comments from Silver Cliff, obviously, send them on to me. And
Oh,
I'll
I
do
will.
those too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you. Up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
I about got bogged down into my
You were busy.
computer there. My apologies. Thank you, ma'am.
Handshake to me.
Consideration of waiving the landfills for Silver Cliff, May 18th cleanup day. Miss Eileen, welcome. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Eileen.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Good morning.
We're not gonna wait for you guys.
Okay.
Pat, you're going to pay for
We'd like
Yeah,
to
we want you to make up.
double your fee so we can make up for,
Westcliff.
yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, ma'am.
So, the same as Westcliff, but ours is May 18th. We are not doing electronics or tires this year. We used to have COG come up. Beth with COG had come up with an electronic trailer and set at the dome and accept stuff from Westcliff and Silvercliff. Since we weren't getting it on the same day, she would have to come for Silvercliff's day and not Westcliff, but Westcliff could participate. So in the meantime, I talked with Steve and I said, well, can Sustainable Ways or whatever the recycle people are have it the same day as the shredder? So now that electronics recycle will be the same day as May 10th as the shredder event, and that can include the whole county instead of just the two towns. So we will not be picking up tires or electronics as well. We will not be taking batteries. Oak has nowhere to go with batteries, but they will take all of the scrap and appliances for pay to them instead of charging us.
So is anybody doing electronics?
Yes.
On May 10th,
That,
Beth from COG will have a trailer at the school with a shredder trailer.
okay.
So, and that can include the whole county, because when we did it, they could only take it from town residents. So this will be better for everybody.
My understanding is the shredding is free and the electronics is
Charged.
charged, but it's a nominal charge compared to if you took
Are
it
they
to
weighing it, or is it just a charge?
I
I think
think
she weighs.
she weighs it, but it also
But
depends
at a
on what it
reduced
is.
price.
Like a
Yeah.
TV is different from a computer.
Yeah, and last year I think it was like 37 cents cheaper than what Oak is doing right at
Okay,
the
and that'll
moment.
be where is it?
The west parking lot at the school
At the school.
on May 10th with the.
Got it.
So that I think worked out good because that can help the whole
Yeah.
community, not just the two towns.
I'll go ahead and I'll move that we waive the landfill fees for the town of Silver Cliff for their May 18th cleanup day.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded to waive the fees, landfill fees for the Silver Cliff cleanup day on May 18th. Discussion. You had a statement, either I didn't understand it or I'm not sure, I guess, whether I did or not, and that was about the white goods appliances. Oak Disposal will take those.
On that day, we pick up all the like refrigerators and stoves and any scrap metal, and it goes straight to their yard, and that's how they consider us paying them, so to say, because then they turn around and sell all that scrap.
Okay,
They're
so
not gonna
fee-
charge.
No fee
No.
for the,
Accept
No.
those.
The only thing that'll be charged are mattresses.
Right. And do you guys deliver those appliances out there? They don't come in town and pick them up?
We just have their dump truck, their trash truck, and then we have trucks and trailers, as does Westcliff. They do the same. Well, I don't know if they will this year since there was somebody different, but that's how we have handled it with Oak in the past. And like I said before, Silver Cliff had voted to just say the third weekend in May every year will be cleanup, instead of this every year trying to pick a date.
To figure a date.
I commend you and Westcliff for doing this. I mean, this is a wonderful service to the community. I appreciate that. Most towns.
Yeah, as do I. I just, as we talked about last year, sitting here, I just hope the residents of our county does not take advantage of your willingness to deal with your two towns.
That's another reason, like Kathy said, we decided not to do tires this year. I think last year Silver Cliff alone had 178 tires. And most of them we watched come from out of the town to different houses in the town. So.
Armed militia out there knocking them out.
Okay, further discussion, public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of waiving the landfill fees for May 18th for the town of Silver Cliff, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
So us county residents can dump our washing machine on you, huh?
Nope, sorry.
No.
Probably take it out to open disposal, right?
Yeah.
They accept them.
Well, but they may charge to accept it. They
They'll
just
charge
take
it
them
from
from
the
us
county
that
fee.
day.
Right, okay, all
Thank you very
righty.
much. Have a good
You're
day.
welcome. All right,
Maybe we take a 10-minute break.
10,
5, whatever.
It'll turn in.
A short break.
I'll second it. It's been moved and taken. Meeting will return to order. Our next item of business is the consideration of or approval of the attainable housing grants and terms for the El Pomar grant. Good morning, Mr. Bogle. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Charles?
And I believe our attorney's on the phone.
Where'd he go?
He is in the break room on the phone.
But we will press ahead without him, by golly.
We'll risk it.
From my understanding, this is El Pomar's boilerplate grant request. They did request a submittal back approved not later than the 8th of May, so I appreciate the consideration today since that was the only opportunity. So.
You didn't get a lot of lead time notice either, did you?
No.
So I saw that. You sent it to us the day you got it,
Yeah.
so appreciate that.
And the only thing I can think of, I'm not sure that I gave you the return email.
No.
But I can do that
Okay.
Upon approval. So.
We'll hard copy mail it back unless you specifically request we do something different. But
If we get a copy, I can send them, and they'll probably prefer a hard
take this
copy.
if you want.
Here, another copy. I don't know what,
Here's the
that's a
original.
hard copy. Oh, she's got it. It's okay. I don't want to mess up the original, just in case.
We did, Steve and I did have a follow-up conversation on our proposal. It's been 2 weeks ago, I guess now, and we were really of a feeling that it might have been longer. They did say that basically the El Pomar board had already tentatively approved all of the grants, but it was a matter of their administration. So to get the contract was a little earlier than what I really expected. But
So they'd approved it before they saw it?
well, they had proved the concept of what, and it was interesting. We asked there were two El Pomar representatives and Jim Little on the phone, and we asked them what the programs that the other counties had offered, and the conclusion, I think ours was had a little more originality, and the others were, I think Fremont County they were gonna pay the first month and the last month of rent on things, and and so our suggestion,
Wow.
especially as it related to purchasing a property, was unique amongst the 4 counties that they had. But
Good. Well, I had a couple questions, if I may. Number one, has the Attainable Housing Group Board decided how they're going to expend these dollars?
we did a proposal that you all approved before we
Right.
submitted it. and we've started researching that,
Okay.
but basically figuring that until we had the dollars, we haven't made any contacts outside the boards.
Okay, so no decision about X dollars going to this, X dollars going to that, X dollars going to that. That hadn't been done
That
yet.
had those
Okay.
details, and much of it depends upon the negotiated price of the subject lands that we're talking about.
Okay.
But the good news is, as it relates to this, I think we've covered ourselves in a proposal of all the alternatives, so we don't have to go back
Right.
to El Pomar and
Ask
get,
them if it's okay.
say, yeah.
Then on the use of the grants section, second bold underlined section, second paragraph, you agree that the activities funded by this grant are charitable, educational, scientific, or literary. And more specifically, that those expenditures will be for exclusively public purposes. That raised a flag with me. I'm not questioning what El Pomar wants to give us money about, but we're getting ready to sign this. Are you comfortable with that statement?
Considering the fact that it's their standard and having dealt with El Pomar previously, they've been easy to deal with. And
Okay.
What was that total anyway, Charles?
40,000.
40. And that covers just the initial study piece, or what do you think it's buying?
Well, it gives us the situation that y'all approved as we submitted for it. And those are, kind of conceptual deals. We certainly didn't paint ourselves in any
That's why I
corner.
was wondering if it had to be narrowed for the thing to be approved or not. This is what they saw.
That's what they saw, complemented with the phone conversation. And we did get into more specifics as it related to, they had, 3 questions. The first question was, who's the physical agent, and that's the county. Second was a tentative budget, and we talked about 30 for land procurement, 5 for the other potential, and 2. And we'd actually said 5 to carry over, but they clarified that all the money had to be spent during this performance period. So,
Okay. And then I just had a little question on the payment of grant. Next to the last section down there is third to the last. That will be made to the county, is that correct?
yes. And I'm not sure. Typically, they do lump sums
What I'm gonna ask you.
rather than reimbursable.
Yeah, it says unless the foundation approves a written request for a different schedule. I'm assuming you're not going to give them a different schedule. You're fine with a lump sum
Yeah.
payment. Okay, that's all I had. I would move we approve the general grant terms and conditions of the El Pomar grant for $40,000.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the terms and conditions. Further discussion. Public comment. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Sorry.
And I'll provide Meredith with email and address later
Okay.
today.
All right, sir. Thank you. We will hard copy this and maybe scan it in and send an email both to you and to El Pomar.
Yeah, just
Okay.
for record.
When would you anticipate funding on this?
I don't know, their schedule is kind of, I would expect those, with the way this did, it's certainly within the month.
I'd really like to work with you on the properties that we talked
It's in the month, ends tonight at midnight.
This month.
Okay.
about. Oh, next month, come on.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Gentlemen, I
Yes.
talked to that attorney May 14 at 10 a.m. So if you all want to,
Okay.
and
We will get some questions before
either
then.
questions or he said just an agenda so he knows what the areas are. And he wanted to know if this was just a consultation, if you were looking at retaining him. I said this would just be a consultation.
So 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at his office. I'll give you the address. in Colorado Springs.
Robert, Bob,
David.
David Showert.
S-H-O-H-E-T, show it. Or don't show it.
Show it.
SH.
10 o'clock.
S-H-O-H-E-T,
And we will go to him.
yes.
10 o'clock.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, that's great, thank you. And you'll forward us all that information. Address.
Robert.
David.
David.
Okay. Behind you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Consideration of releasing DOLA funds for the EDA requirement. We have met and discussed this. Anything additional, gentlemen, you'd like to bring forward? Okay.
We haven't got anything new.
Okay. I would move that we make a formal request to the Department of Local Affairs through Christy Doon and Mr. Winkler to request releasing $30,000
I'll second the motion.
to support the EDA grant. It's been moved and seconded that we request $30,000 advance from DOLA. Discussion.
The only thing I would say is, I'm gonna be in favor of this. However, I'm somewhat disappointed that there's not a better business plan involved. I mean, it's awful loosey-goosey. $2 million, 6 towers. I don't really know what the plan is. I mean, other than to erect the towers, find locations, put on the broadband companies and hopefully cellulars, but where I'm lacking, and we discussed this last meeting, I'm just mentioning it again because that's the way I am sometimes. I wish I knew what kind of populace we're talking about that could be reached, demographics, anticipations and things like that. So I would like to have seen a stronger business plan, but maybe that'll just come to fruition. So I'm ready to move.
I think the issue that we're currently facing is with the EDA.
Yeah.
And the problem that they have kept coming up with these additional requirements that they didn't say initially, or certainly didn't enforce initially. And if you remember, last fall, and granted we had budget in the ED situation that did the economic development assessment, because they came up and were horsey about wanting the effects of the system for 3, 6, and 9 years, and we satisfied that. So, and that was really a bargain, I think, compared to what we got. But the point being is that they came up and didn't accept the engineering study that we had. They didn't accept that we had the task in the grant to solidify the locations and the arrangements with that, and the environmental study, and that was, that's been a frustration for all of us, and reasonably unique experience with our cohorts in other counties that have dealt with other funding vehicles. It's for the EDA not to have a starting list that says these are the gates you've got to go through.
So based on that, Charles, do you feel that once we get I know this is for the study to get the locations, that's what the money's going to be used for?
One of the things, yeah.
What's the likelihood they're going to come back and say, now I need this and now I need that? And we keep, because every time we go to DOLA, I recognize we're talking about $60,000 on $2 million. It's really not all that significant. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not that. But if they come back with more and we keep going to DOLA, give us more and more, and we dilute our pot so much.
DOLA in our conversation some time ago was, and Greg Winkler was rather upset, using terms I won't use in a general meeting, that it was like when we went back to EDA, said, okay, this is your chance. Tell us what the requirements are going to be to get us in where the grant request can be reviewed, and that's where they provided the 4 different issues that that we've been working on.
You're comfortable that if we can supply that, they're not gonna, I know we're talking
We,
about federal
we have
government.
that assurance, I think, is the,
Okay,
is
that's
the
all
thing.
you can get.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm fine.
but dealing with the federal government,
Right, I get it.
we certainly, we share the concern of having to go and hat in hand again. I mean, we're not comfortable with having to do this, but it's reality, is if we're gonna progress the grant request to EDA. And the thing about it is, as much time as we've got invested with EDA, you know, we really don't have, alternatives are limited, I'll put it that way.
I will most likely support this motion today as well. But I have a couple of statements. One, I've had two different people come to me about this very topic and tell me that obviously if we do this, we're going to be $30,000 under what our request was, what our budget was, which is what I explained to them, that $2 million is a budget, it's not a magic figure. And then they said, and is it true that then the EDA will deduct $30,000 off of that because they're only going to match what DOLA will provide? And I said, that is correct. It's my understanding. I would support this knowing very well now that instead of the full $2 million, we'll be $60,000 short. And I do that knowing that no one will get any support from me to cough up another $60,000 at the end of this deal to make it an even $2 million. I guess my feeling is we go down this road, then we're going to live with $60,000 less than $2 million. I'm not going to ask the county to pony up the $60,000 and make up to hit that magic number of $2 million. I don't believe you gentlemen feel like that's what we have to do, is end exactly at $2 million. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. It would have to be a very extenuating circumstance for me to vote to go back to DOLA after this.
It would be equally hard for us to come and ask for that. And the point being is that the various contractors, we said, hey, that's all the money. If we have to cut it back, that's still all the money. There ain't no more. So, and that's certainly our intentions.
Right. Yeah, and somebody said to me, well, why don't you just ask for more money, then you don't have to worry about going back. I said, no, we're not operating that way. Sorry, that's not going to happen. So.
Well, in reality, the $1 million that was promised conditionally from DOLA is the last of that pot of money, that middle mile DOLA money. That does
Right.
not exist anymore.
Right.
So, you know, it's just not practical to go back. And you know, in the discussions, all the discussions with DOLA is they want our program to be successful. Obviously,
Right.
we all share that want, but we realize that we're moving a task that was proposed to be within the grant money to the fund. So really, there's going to be some savings once we get the big pot of money.
Yeah, but my thought was, you would have to have someone find these locations regardless.
Yes, and
So
that was,
instead of the loss of 60,000, it's really 30,000 because we would have had to spend the money. The only thing we're missing is the matching grant from EDA,
That's correct.
because we would have used the money from DOLA for that, or worked from the pot. So, and 30,000 in a $2 million project. If this is the only snafu we run into, I mean, it'll be a miracle.
I was going to say, for some of us who have dealt with these numbers and larger, I hate to say it, but it's within the realm of accuracy almost.
It's a rounding error.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm not overly concerned about it. My biggest concern is EDA next going to come back and say, well, now spec out the towers you're going to use and and we're going to have to put more money into a project. I'm just concerned about this because I know how the federal government.
Dale said the primary correspondence with Trent. The bad thing is Trent is a middleman. That he's trying to get us to the point where our grant request can be considered in its entirety. And these are the things that he has suggested and told us that we need to get it through that door. And, you know, then, you know, I mean, who knows? If the sun comes up in a different direction, it's our federal government. But,
And my comment is really rhetorical. It's not, you give me that assurance. You can't, I know that. It's rhetorical. I'm concerned about the government doing this. But you know what, we're not, I personally am not giving up on the project. I think it's a good project, and I think there'll be many challenges during the entire project. This is one of them. There'll be more.
We've got some decisions to make, and as we progress on this, and as most of us know, is most of them have some effect on dollars.
Of course, they all do. It's where it comes down.
Dale, have you got anything else?
Yeah, I want to add a couple of comments. My first one is a positive. I want to thank the three of you for indicating you're going to move forward and support asking, because the request for this change in DOLA funding has to come from you. So that's the first item. Second item is, I'm shocked personally at the amount of $30,000. The message that we received from DOLA is that they're willing to go to their ladder of command to take this request to upfront the grant to us in N amount of dollars. And their only comment to us, make damn sure that you're asking for enough money so that you don't have to come back once and you don't bump up against the money. We know that we have a bid for $12,250 to do the first two items on the EDA list. That's get letter of intent from 6 property owners where the towers will be located. Hopefully that'll be pre-engineered sites, but if it's not, they will proceed to find additional sites that are there. The second item is to do a independent study of fair market value for occupying the towers by rural WISP. The third and the fourth tower was the preliminary engineering report, which we do not have a number on yet. And the second one is that the environmental narrative, for which we don't have a number. We have a company that's based in Canyon City that does environmental narratives, and I'll be meeting with them today or tomorrow, particularly since you all indicate that in all likelihood this is going to move forward. I think that with $12,250 and the delta between that amount and $30,000 is $18,000 is inadequate or problematic to be assured that the final two items can be done for that amount of money, because these are not trivial undertakings. They require CAD, and the number that Greg Winkler had given us is $50,000. We will go and do that. I agree with your comment. We're not giving up $100,000 because these 4 items were originally planned to be part of the project to be done after the project had been approved. So if we get $50K up front, we get $100,000 less from the 2 contributors, we still have the $50,000. So we're losing $50,000. My request would be that you seriously consider changing your motion from $30,000 to $50,000, and we will move forward aggressively to bring this.
I guess the question is, are you assuming at the 30,000 that because we're not talking about we're talking about a normal DOLA grant, and a normal DOLA grant would have a 50% match.
Well, let's be finished mine first.
Well,
I
but
strongly,
I mean,
well, it
that
doesn't
would kick
change
it up
that.
to 60.
Right, but the fact of the matter is, I believe we're gonna need more than $18,000 to do those items 3 and 4. And I believe that if we accept $30,000, you put a formal request into DOLA, they get that, and I don't care whether it's a grant from DOLA or whether it's early disbursement of their earlier grant award, we will find ourselves facing not having sufficient funding, and we will again be in a problem. And I want to be able to go from this point to finish the grant submittal and get our money here by the June or July timeframe.
How did we go from 30 to 50? I understand what you're saying, and I'm not
Yeah, 50
I'm not
was,
discounting it.
right.
Where did the 30 come from? What were we
I don't know where the 30
Where
came
did-
I
from.
don't know, that's y'all's words.
Yeah, I never said 30.
I had nothing.
I never said
Do you
30.
guys have any idea where
Yeah, I
30,000
don't
came
think
from?
we suggested 30.
Who?
I don't think we,
So when you're saying
Economic
50,
development.
does that mean 50 from DOLA and 50 less from EDA, so that's
That's correct.
100,000 less?
It's gonna
I mean,
lower
the
the
question
EDA.
comes
When you
in,
know what you're talking
whatever
about.
number.
But it's not
if-
100,000 less.
If DOLA, it's whether we're asking DOLA for a grant without a county match or not, I think is the basic issue. And I would think, you know, are we proposing a number, in this case, currently 30,000, without a local match?
Yeah, that's what I understood.
Well, then I agree with Dale,
County doesn't
we're not
have
asking.
Well, we never talked
We
about
never
any
talked
local
about that.
match, so don't set us up
Right.
for the
Well, no, I'm just,
disappointing you about that.
it's a devil in the details, but it's something when we talk to DOLA, we need to have clear.
My head is spinning right now. I mean,
But we shouldn't be spending, Jay. Let me interrupt because the last meeting that we were in front of you was on the 3rd of April.
right?
And at that meeting, I have my notes. You made it very clear, and I think Tom was the one that made it very clear to me. One, the county is gonna put no money up for these 4 items.
Right.
And I repeated that back to you. He also said that the county was gonna put no money up to match a DOLA grant. I made that note, so I thought, well, we're screwed in those 2 categories.
Right.
So the only thing we got going is to find out if DOLA will allocate money from that $1 million grant to the county with no contingency and no money from the county.
I got it.
And they will only add, I talked to Christie last night.
Christie's in favor. She'll do it. I know she will.
She said she'd take it to the table. And she said she can't guarantee it, but if she doesn't get a letter from the commissioner,
It's not gonna happen.
it's not gonna happen.
So here's the question. So the project, because of the EDA match, now these are things that were part of the project anyways, so we're gonna have to spend that money. Where it hurts the project, if it hurts at all, and tell me if I'm wrong, is the EDA will match, instead of $1 million, they'll be matching $1 million minus, if we approve 50,000, 50,000. So we're $50,000 short, even though it's a $100,000 overall number, because you'd have to spend it anyway. Is the project in any, how tight is the numbers on the project? Is $50,000 gonna severely injure this project, or, I mean,
Okay, let me respond to your question using
Thank you.
facts. The
Good.
proposed, the budgetary number that came out of Centerline Solutions
Right.
when they did their feasibility study and initial engineering study was $1.92 million to do this project. That left us $80,000. When we went to DOLA and to EDA, they told us that they don't like digits. They said round it up to the nearest whole number. So we rounded it up to $2,000. The reason I have sat
$2
past,
million, I got it.
2 million, the reason I have sat passively here during these conversations is we're still working within my contingency number of $80,000. So if we lose $50,000, we're gonna shrink our contingency. And you never do a project without a contingency. So we'll have to be a little more on top of things to make sure we don't hurt ourselves there. But we get $50,000 from a request from you to DOLA, and they approve it, we can go forward. And I believe that as we sit here, I can look you in the eye and using facts, say we're okay.
Okay, now I wanna know something on that. $50,000 less, what does EDA think they're funding? DOLA is advancing 50K. So what,
They're gonna,
what are we talking about?
they're gonna match,
They're gonna match it, so it's
They're
gonna
gonna
be
match the final amount of
$100,000
money.
less
they're the
than 2 million.
The two grants that would have been 2 million will now be 1.9 million. Will be $100,000
$100,000 less,
down.
that's what I'm saying.
But we're not
We gotta start talking
$100,000
about
less
that.
because we got the 50,000.
I understand that.
Right.
so we're 50,000.
And the 4 items that we are paying for up front.
Mark,
Right.
no,
Okay.
there's work that has to be done. $2 million is up there with an $80,000 contingency. And now we're gonna have 180 or $100,000 less actual money to do the same amount of work now. That's what you just said.
I did
Because
not
that
say
amount of
that.
work, yeah, that's
No,
a
I
fact.
didn't say that.
No,
We said we'd have $50,000 less to do the whole
because we're
project.
getting 50,000 from
In
NOLA.
advance.
Of their
Yeah,
money.
Whatever the dollar
advance.
figure is.
The only thing we're
And
losing
EDA
is the
is gonna
EDA
give us,
match.
I just wanna know what EDA is gonna give us.
They're
We
gonna
don't
give us
know that.
900, EDA is gonna give us $950,000 if we successfully get 50K paid up front from DOLA. Period. We've had this discussion with them.
Okay, so I would like to move that we amend your motion to raise the amount that we request from DOLA from 30,000 to 50,000.
Is there a second?
I haven't had a chance to talk yet, but you wanna.
We need a second to
I'll
his
second
amendment.
that so you can
Okay.
do it, and I won't.
Been
I haven't
moved.
said anything yet.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the motion by striking the words 30 and inserting the words 50.
So the motion is,
Discussion.
okay,
I want this on the
all right,
table.
so it's on the
Talk
table.
about it.
I do not support this. I'm not, and there's several reasons why. First of all, it just shows me that from the beginning, we've been concerned about the business plan, and we've all heard that to begin with. And we were under the impression you had talked to landowners, and you didn't. We got through that part, and you have to go do that now as part of the job. We don't know what the cost is gonna be to do that yet. We know it's a special permit that has to be, hearings have to occur, we gotta get the public on board with towers, et cetera, et cetera. There's gonna be work and it takes time. And so you have to manage the time. So I worry about the risk of doing it with the less money. I'm not so sure we even knew exactly what it was gonna cost when we got to the 1.9. I know Senator Lyon gave you an estimate.
And you've gotten a
And
copy of that.
I got it, I understand all that. But it's still risk, it's program management, and you're right to have a contingency, you need a margin in there to make sure you're gonna hit it. I'm not so sure that's enough, given the unknowns. I'm also not comfortable with the fact that we are gonna have to have the responsibility. What if we are short? Just take the what if piece here. And we don't have enough money after we get down the road, and we are 100,000 over budget. For whatever reason, we don't know. Where is that money coming from? Is DOLA gonna say, well, you spent all this much, we'll just give you 100,000 more? Because the county is not gonna, if I have anything to say about it, pony up 100,000 more bucks. And I don't know how many towers are gonna be half built, or whether we got land allocated yet or not. So there's a risk there. And there's also the risk of competing with private industry. We still have to get these providers to agree, and I don't like to hear, well, if we build it, they'll come kind of nonsense. You need the commitments, and so we gotta understand why CEPCOM or Hilltop or whatever is going to abandon their own tower and pay rent on our tower. So we've gotta be pricing ourselves accordingly to make sure we are competitive in a market where free enterprise is working. And the 80% more addresses is nonsense. There's X amount of people right now that are gonna pay the initial rent to those guys, meaning their fees, to pay us enough money to maintain the tower. That's a risk. I also worry about future. If technology is evolving, nobody, tell me it's not. We've seen the actual launch of the 4,000 orbits are going on today. It's going to improve the broadband capability and the shortcomings of the pipes that are at GEO. And so I worry about the risk of competing with, anybody can get a downlink with a lot less interference than horizontal beaming through some trees. We're not going to pick up everybody with our towers.
Right.
And we'll be able to get more people with new technology. So that's a risk. And the last risk I see is it doesn't complete the project because we still have to go after a hardline fiber link for you guys instead of a Wi-Fi being into the ring of our towers, which won't have the same capacity initially that we've been broadcasting to everybody. So there's a risk, how do you compete? So that's why, and I'm not going to argue anymore about it because it's immute, but I am not going to vote for this.
Further discussion?
I just want to comment that at least 3 of the items that Commissioner Candace said are invalid and incorrect. So that, I understand he's off the table, but not everything he said was true.
Okay. Got the minutes from our meeting on April the 3rd. The last paragraph says the cost to do the first 2 items, which would be letters of intent from 6 landowners and independent fair market analysis of the monthly rental rate for vendors to occupy those towers, is $11,250. And the last 2 items is approximately $25,000. Those last 2 items being preliminary engineering report and environmental narrative. Those 2 figures added together, $36,250. Thank you, ma'am, for bringing those. Appreciate it. Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on the amendment, which states that we strike the number 30,000 and insert the number 50,000. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay? Nay. Motion fails. 1 for, 2 against. Any further discussion on the main motion, which is to ask DOLA to release $30,000? I would say this, gentlemen, so that we have clear air, that we're working in clean air. I hope we proceed along here, because I'm telling you, I am getting politically more pressure every day about this project. I hear way more negative connotations and statements to me about bailing out on this now than I do about pressing ahead. I don't know why that is necessarily. I have a suspicion that it's because we've been dragging on and dragging on and dragging on. That is not your fault. I'm not trying to lay blame. I just want you to know, man, my ear politically is getting twisted to bail on this project.
If I might suggest, last year's community assessment, the current program have both indicated an interest of those participants in infrastructure. Infrastructure including broadband, cell phone, and as well as other items. So I would suggest that while personally you may be getting political feedback, there's an element in this community that is certainly supportive of these initiatives.
Absolutely do not deny that. That's why I said I would most likely support this initiative today. I understand that. I just want you guys to understand where I'm coming from.
I'll make a comment on that.
Go ahead.
You're right, but there are 2 ways of skinning a cat. And so you can get it, the broadband in other methods, either by the current competition between Hilltop and CCOM, and CCOM's done quite a bit of improvement on their current process. And you can get it by the other things that I mentioned before. And so from a point of view, I cannot, and I'm in the same boat Tom is, pressure-wise, I cannot count on my toes and my hands the number of people that say, I want 50 up and 50 down. There are people that say, I want infrastructure, I want email, I want X, and they could care less as long as they're for what they're using it for is met. Most of it's movies, some stuff like that. You need some sort of better capability. Others is just email. So I'm not going to yield on that at all, John.
I would further suggest if you look at the SNG study and if you look at the long-term prosperity and bringing clean, web-based business to our community, that's something, and if you remember the jobs and such that he's projected, part of that obligation is that we go ahead and do what we say we were going to do, and remembering too that business element, they say if we don't improve it, they'll go someplace where it is improved.
Okay. I'll call the question. Let's move on.
Previous question's been called. Is there a second? I looked that up and I've been remiss, gentlemen. Previous question does require a second. It's not debatable. Is there a second? The previous question.
To call the question?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll second.
Call the question, the previous question. Been moved and seconded to call previous question. If passed, this will end all debate and move to an immediate vote on the main motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed nay. Motion carries. Previous question carries. We'll proceed to vote on the motion which states to request DOLA release $30,000 to move forward with the EDA requirements on the broadband grant. All in favor say aye.
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 Nay.
Opposed nay. Motion carries 2 in favor, 1 against. $30,000 it is, gentlemen. That's what we have to live with.
With a warning, can't be going for anything else. We're not gonna spend county money, so it's gotta be managed tight, and we're gonna have a good talk about how we're gonna manage this forward.
I would guess, sir, technically speaking, that's your opinion, right? When you
That's
say
I'm
we,
saying, yeah.
be careful about we, but
But that was me,
okay.
I always speak that until we vote.
no, not always, because you just said
I
we
know,
are
I
not
know,
going to
that's why I
spend
say
any
I
more
always
money.
mean that. So in my opinion, we're gonna have to have a strong talk, and we can have a workshop if you want, we can do other things, but, this isn't the end of how we're gonna do things.
Just this morning's action. I just want to voice my concern. We read the minutes from the previous meeting saying they need $36,000 to do what needs to be done. We approved $30,000. Please tell me where $6,000 is going to come from.
It's going to come out of this 25,000, in my opinion. This is a number pulled out of the sky, approximately 25,000. That could have said approximately 19,000.
Okay.
It's going to have to say approximately 19,000. I won't
I'm
support.
trusting the numbers that were coming.
Okay.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
concerns me. We've got them in the red before they open the book
No,
the first
I
day.
disagree with you there, sir. We've done
My
way more
opinion.
than we said we would do a year and a half ago.
That's for darn sure.
Well,
And we appreciate it.
look, you guys have put in a huge amount of work. I mean, and you've done this for the benefit of this county, for economic development, and I understand there's some altruistic intents in there. We learned that just recently about management of the project. But what you have done, I commend you. I mean, people stepped up to the bar and said, we need better broadband in this county, and you gentlemen stepped up and said, I can work on that. You've put, what, 2 years or more, or 3 years into this project?
And more than that.
We formed economic development
Like
7 years ago.
Okay, but the broadband issue itself.
We've
I'm
been
talking
working
about
broadband
7
ever since
years.
the get-go.
7 years, I'm not even close.
Yeah.
But I just want to tell you, I commend you for what you have done to this point. And, you know, I understand what Commissioner Candace is saying. If the infrastructure comes in and broadband comes up and this becomes a moot question because we don't need towers for some unknown reason, so be it. But this is what we have to work with today. So my comment is I appreciate what you've done.
And we appreciate that. But I also want to be on record saying that I believe that by shorting us the money we needed for this project today, and by you making assumptions, not being subject matter experts, and I speak to all three of you, you've set us up to probably not be able to complete this submittal, which in fact will set us up to fail. And if that makes you feel good, so be it.
I resent that, but I hear you loudly.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay.
Moving on.
Next item of business, consideration of the E911 DOLA grant. I think, gentlemen, you have a copy of that. If not, you should have. It's almost a formality, in my opinion. This grant has been written. It's already been reviewed. I spoke with Christy Doon personally, and she asked, did the Board of Commissioners approve this, and do you have documentation to show that when she goes to support or lend her support to this grant on our behalf? And I said, you know what, I better revisit that because I can't unequivocally tell you that we have a record of that. I asked Miss Meredith if she could find a record of that. She said no. We checked the minutes. I could not. So in my
Yeah,
opinion,
there was no previous.
I think we need to revisit this issue, even though it's kind of
term that
after
we
the
need to
fact.
move to make it happen? Except the grant is closed.
Yeah, we just need to make this happen. We need a motion to support
Right.
this DOLA grant for the DTR radios.
I move that we accept the grant for the DTR radios as presented.
I'll second the motion. Been moved and seconded to approve the grant application. This is a tier 1 application. It's not a tier 2. Tier 1 application. Discussion. Yes, sir.
There is a typo. The zip code is not 81,252. So I would suggest if this passes that we fix that before we submit it.
Go to Mars.
It's already,
Oh, you've already fixed it? Well, the one I'm looking at doesn't
no,
have.
I can't fix it because it's already all
Yeah, it's a
submitted.
pre-formatted form to
We
fill
got
in.
the
I
one
looked
that
at that
is
as
correct
well.
on the
Basically
second
saying,
page.
so they met with Christine.
It's fine.
And
If you don't fix it, it's fine.
It can't
I'll
be
make
fixed.
it can be
Yeah.
fixed in
No
general.
problem.
Where is that?
It was actually probably formatted as a dollar figure,
That's
and it
what I'm
asked me
thinking.
for a
That's
zip
why I was
code.
asking,
So,
you know.
Yeah, they
I
got
think that's why I called
81,000.
it a
Yeah.
typo.
right.
Not an
Yeah,
ignorant.
yeah, yep. That's my guess. Was that was
I agree with
formatted
you.
for dollars.
Because when I look at the 32,000
We may
down
be
there,
special
it looks
enough to
the
have a
same.
separate zip code like that. It's for the,
Was 32,000, Mr. Barr, the correct amount?
That's Buck's grant,
it's something less than that, not much. It's
Yeah, I
like
don't
29
think it's-
something.
that big of a deal, it's a supplement grant.
Yeah, I thought the
Grant
total
would
was
have been
in the 70s, but
It is, it's matched. And they've got the match. He has the money. You know? That's a good question.
I wrote that figure down and I was trying to find it real quick, and you know what? Hold on just a second.
So where is the amount? 32,000 even.
Yeah. Further discussion on the motion, which is to support the DOLA grant. Give Mr. Canada a second.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Did he, who moved? I moved.
It's been moved and seconded, yes.
Yeah, I'm good.
I believe I made the motion.
That's it, yeah, he has a window, so it's
Yeah.
covered. So we gotta figure out.
I made the motion, is that correct?
Actually,
I
Bill made
moved
the
and
motion, you seconded.
You seconded.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's for the, what radios?
DTR,
DTR, tier 1.
digital trunk radios.
Update.
Any further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The Board of County Commissioners will support the DOLA grant for 2019 for the DTR radios. All right. Next item of business, consideration of policy regarding the hours worked beyond the scope of the exempt employees. I left it as consideration in case we did want to entertain an action item, but I was hoping at least to have some discussion that maybe we can move forward with some policy or document.
So you're looking just to say, let's go come up with a policy? Is that what you're looking for? Or what are we looking?
At a minimum of that, yes. Was my hope.
For who? Is it
I'll
just
throw
us,
something
the
out to
commissioner?
start the discussion, okay? I signed a form today for a report to us. I think the
Now, by form, you mean a leave request
a leave
form?
request, yes, I'm sorry, I was not very clear. A form for a leave request for one of the reports to us. My opinion is that supervisors need to supervise their employees. We need to supervise our direct reports. The form is good. I'd like to see where it documents how many hours they're taking, how many have left, and if we ask, there'll be a summary of what hours you feel you have earned and what hours are available for you to take. And I don't want to overdo
We don't have
this.
to overdo
It's
it.
not.
I don't wanna overkill this.
And the only other issue that I thought there was sort of people were mistaking leave for overtime, you see, so they just mismanaged the form, basically.
I don't have a problem. I think the managers, I trust them.
Work that.
I trust the managers that report to us. I
Right.
trust them, but I think there should be some accountability like everything else. I think it's very important to understand that comp time specifically starts at 41 hours, not at 40 hours. Even though you work less than that in accounting, whose job this is. And so that would be just a form and accountability, remind people what it is. I don't want to overkill this. I trust our employees. Our supervisors I trust our supervisors to manage their people, and I trust people who report to us to be fair, honest, and equitable. That's just my comment.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a matter of trust for me, it's a matter of process. I think we're functioning way less than how we should be from a business standpoint. So we did rework this request for leave form. It does ask how many hours or days that the request is for, and then they also have the opportunity to indicate how many
Balance.
hours or days left after the request has been approved.
Or current balance, is it just showing the current balance without the? What happened?
Yeah, current balance, well, the balance if the leave request was approved. So, I mentioned this at our workshop. I think we have to have a process in place that everybody can look at, understand, and our employees that report to us need to report to us. The only question I would have, I guess, that is left unanswered, although we did talk about it, is which commissioners are going to deal with this. I know.
Why wouldn't we?
If I may,
Go ahead.
interrupt you.
No, it's fine. That was my question.
If we go back to our areas of responsibility, human resources, I believe, was mine. So if you're acceptable, I'd be happy to take this on.
Do it.
I feel it's part of my responsibility, but I'm not it's not a power grab.
Right.
I'm happy for someone else
You
if
have a
prefer to
sample
do it.
here to use.
Yeah, but
That's fine.
I'm happy to work up a policy for us to consider. I'll review the form. I'll sit down with Donna Hobby and work up what she would need that will not overtax her and burden her. And I'll bring it back with a suggestion if that's acceptable with you, and if not, however you want to do it.
That's the process. I like it.
Yeah, I've always believed that there should be one commissioner responsible for this. Certainly wouldn't matter to me who, and I appreciate your volunteer. And I think all three of us randomly signing these leave request forms, as we have been doing, is not a good situation. I guess regardless of who does it, I would like to think that these employees, when they bring this, we're back to the same thing. And here's an example Meredith gave me a form so you guys could look at it. If Meredith tells me she has 13 hours left, I take her at her word, or I ask her for documentation of that. And I think some documentation, I do not believe would be out of the realm of reasonableness. But at the same time, I say it's not a trust issue with me. I don't have a problem with the trust factor. So I've never been in charge of my own sick and vacation days in my life when it came to my time cards and my paychecks. Somebody else always was.
They always had it, and they knew what the balance was, and you were applying for leave against that balance.
I would like to suggest that not only do we, I think this form is fine, but that we also develop a form and that we ask the employees that are reporting to us to bring that form with this and say, here's my ledger. It's a copy of my ledger. This is where I'm at today.
Go with that.
And of course, I'm willing to trust our employees from this day back. If that says I've got 40 hours of comp time, I'll take them at their word. But from this day forward, I'd like to think that we have a record, one of us has a record and could stand the challenge of another commissioner saying, I see you signed so-and-so's, can I see the paperwork without being a big threat? Right? I mean, I don't think that would be a big no.
If she doesn't, she's not logging anything from anybody.
So
Interesting.
that would
I
be
like
my
that.
only thing, is we have another form, and I appreciate you.
I don't disagree
be
with
willing
that.
to
That's
take
where I
that.
was gonna go with it.
Yeah.
So what do you need? You need a motion?
No, I don't think so at this
Come up with a
point.
form and let's.
At some
let's
point, I
go
think
to it.
we would have to adopt a process.
What I will do is I'll work on a process, and I will come back and I'll either do it as a commissioner item, or I'll ask to be put on the agenda, whichever you prefer. And we'll talk about, here's what I came up with, and then the three of us could massage it and make it better if we need to, or which we probably will. And then when we say, yep, let's do it, we'll implement it. And then I think probably a motion would make sense, just so we
Sure,
have an
just to
official
formalize it.
record that this is what we expect of the people who work for the county.
Yeah, I'm certainly comfortable with that.
And if we need to amend the employee policy, that would certainly take a motion, but I'll look into that also to see. I'll look at it. I mean, I can't tell you off the top of my head anything other than I agree that this is an issue that needs to be tightened up a little bit, not for anything that has to do with trust. It's just too loosey-goosey, and it's, we need to manage it. That's our job.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually, we're gonna have to submit to the auditors our records of our employees that answer to us.
Exactly.
Makes you wonder where
I'm
everybody
real
else's
thin
records
ice
been.
about doing that today.
Who's done that in the past?
Nobody.
I think Donna's just
I mean, they get
taking
it,
everybody
the auditors take care
at
of
their
it.
word.
I mean,
They've
they
always,
come to
they've always
us and
agreed.
say, what's
Right.
your employees, and we give that to them, and
Yeah, I think probably Donna's been providing that, and then that's not the real question. The real question is, where's Donna getting her information? From the employees. Well,
Right. And if I was an auditor, I'd say, that's really not good enough. I need
Yeah.
to see each month what you earned, what you
Right.
used, some kind of log.
yeah.
It's not a big deal.
I suspect our employees are doing that. I would just like for the commissioner in charge to have a record of that every time there's a transaction, so that we can have a running log of those hours. And
Unless you want to.
no,
Just
no,
volunteer.
I'm certainly, I
No, let
appreciate
me
you
do
doing
it.
that. My plate is,
I want to do it.
Your
my
plate's
plate is full. So, the other thing I just want to throw out was that it may be a moot point, but from the conversations I've listened to, I'm not sure it is, and that is the fact that comp time is a form of overtime.
Absolutely.
We're really talking about overtime. It's how the employee chooses to use their overtime.
Right.
Whether it's comp or cash are really the two options there. But I've had people say to me stuff like that made me think, I believe they thought comp time was totally separate and different than what overtime is. Maybe they think overtime is cash, comp time is time off, compensatory time, whatever, I don't know. But it made me rethink that a little bit as this was brought to the forefront. So with that, I'm certainly fine with Commissioner Prince moving forward with it.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Did we approve the vouchers today?
No, that's
No,
why I
not
was
yet.
having some serious angst. I don't know how that ever got,
It wasn't even on there.
how that got slid between the cracks. And I'll bet you there's a couple people that are a little gnarly with us about right now, because this could have been done.
See, that is out there.
Uh,
I don't even remember. Did I get those?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
I would
was
move that
remiss.
we approve the vouchers for
Let me second that. Got it.
for the month of April. Been moved, I'm gonna give you that date on the email. It's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers.
And is Donna not available to talk to us about it?
She typically doesn't, but if you want her to, we
No, I
could
don't
call
think
her.
so. I thought she-
I had some questions, I did speak to her about that. had them fairly well answered. I can relate those to you if you're interested. If not, we can move on.
Good.
All in favor of approving the April vouchers? Sorry, public comment. You're the only public we got left.
You want to be paid?
All in favor say aye.
Okay, good
Aye.
comment.
Pose nay. Commissioner,
Aye.
motion carries. You want to begin the process, sir? Yeah, let's make sure on our last meeting of the month, that is the first item under new business, ma'am, if you don't mind. I totally spaced it myself. And I think, gentlemen, you're aware Tourism Board has requested to change their location of their meetings. So they will now be meeting in the basement of the West Cliff Town Hall. Their next meeting is this Friday, 8:30 in the morning.
I've been in the basement. That's going to be in there. Is it a vault?
Nice room. They did Westcliff did a wonderful job rehabbing that.
They got a ton of room down there. Mr. Kendall, do you have plans to attend that meeting, or?
Yeah, I'm going to try to. Or on that tourism board meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to see what it's like.
Let me get out a book while we read the.
Well, and with,
You know,
I certainly need to have a restroom break. I can do that during, or we can do it before.
no, you can all feel free to stay on the record.
You
so I
just
can-
wander around
Yeah.
and you keep talking, will you?
But nobody asked me.
You're like a congressman in Congress.
Sure. But nobody asked me for my input
nobody
on
listen.
Kathy Rice's request for the, contacting CDOT and our senators and everything. I was just thinking outside the box. Why don't both towns see if they have any citizens who are expendable and have one of them walk out in front of a truck? And then that satisfies CDOT's requirement right there.
I understand now why we hired him.
I
All this
understand now
great
why
law,
we didn't ask him
legal
for his
advice.
input.
I got a list.
Yeah,
I got a list.
yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
That's all there was.
But I'd like to add some names to that list, up towards the top,
Make sure everything.
at the top, actually.
Very good.
Next item of business is the second reading and final adoption. We'll do that during. He said he was fine with that. Of the ordinance 19-01, regulating residential growing, cultivating, and processing of marijuana in the unincorporated areas of State County. Before we start that, I'd like to throw out a comment. I would like to pass on a comment, actually. Received a phone call and wanted some insurance that this was for marijuana and not marijuana and hemp. I promptly informed the person this had nothing to do with hemp, never will have. It is labeled marijuana.
Right.
It's an ordinance, it will stay as marijuana. And the person had reservations and concerns about the minute this hits the final gavel, then there's going to be a big stink about, what about hemp? I said, there might be, but believe me, in the chair I sit in, I will be voting on this specifically for marijuana. It has nothing to do with growing, cultivating, or processing hemp. Okay, sir, floor is yours.
Okay.
So this will be our second and final reading.
Second, final, and then you
And
vote
then
if it's approved.
after-
And it's published by reference to title only. It doesn't have to be published in its entirety. Again,
I'm
just
sure we'd leave it on the website in its entirety,
Oh, yeah.
but okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to speed read. Jackie isn't here to time me on this one like she did
I'll
last.
time
What was the last record? 12 minutes?
No, 9 minutes, 11
9,
seconds.
okay, 9,
In
11.
the event you were wondering. All right, sir, floor is yours.
Ordinance number 19-01, an ordinance of Custer County, a political subdivision of the state of Colorado regulating residential growing, cultivating, and processing of marijuana in the unincorporated areas of said county. Whereas Section 14 and 16 of Article 18 of the Constitution of the state of Colorado, Amendments 20 and 64 respectively, authorize persons to grow limited amounts of marijuana or to assist others in growing marijuana, and whereas Amendment 20 granted the local governments the general authority to prohibit commercial marijuana operations, and whereas with the adoption of ordinance number number 13-01 on September 5, 2013, by the Board of County Commissioners for the Custer County. The board, commercial marijuana operations were prohibited within the unincorporated areas of Custer County, and whereas neither Amendment 20 nor Amendment 64 permit local governments to deny individuals the constitutional right to engage in non-commercial unlicensed grow operations, and whereas regulations of the state of Colorado pertaining to commercial marijuana operations are generally not directed toward non-commercial unlicensed individual grow operations, and whereas this circumstance has resulted in the proliferation of non-licensed and unregulated marijuana grow operations in Custer County that present significant health and public safety concerns with multiple violations of Custer County zoning resolution and also violations of electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and fire codes that are enforced for the unincorporated areas of the county. And whereas section 30-11-101 parenthesis 2 CRS gives the board the authority to adopt and enforce ordinances regarding health, safety, and welfare issues, and to provide penalties for the violation of same. And whereas the board is further authorized pursuant to section 25-1.5-106 parenthesis 13.5 CRS to regulate the growing of marijuana, commercial or otherwise. And whereas the board is further authorized pursuant to section 9-7-113 CRS to ban the use of compressed flammable gas and the extraction of THC or other cannabinoids in a residential setting. And whereas the board has determined that the adoption of regulations governing the growing, cultivating, and processing of marijuana in a residential setting is necessary and desirable for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Custer County. And wherefore this ordinance number 19-01 does not unreasonably impair or impede the exercise of constitutional rights afforded citizens under Amendments 20 and 64. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of County Commissioners of Custer County, a political subdivision of the state of Colorado, as follows. Part 1, Section 1, Scope of Ordinance and Authority. This ordinance number 19-01 applies within the unincorporated areas of Custer County and regulates the growing, cultivating, and processing of marijuana on any lot, parcel, or tract of land by any person, including but not limited to patients engaging in such conduct for medicinal purposes, or persons engaging in such conduct for personal recreational use.
Sir, is the word primary caregiver still in your document?
No, we took that out.
Okay, thank you.
Section 2, definitions. The definitions contained in Amendment 20 to the Colorado Constitution, Colorado Medical Marijuana Code, the Colorado Medical Marijuana Program, and any regulations promulgated by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment and the Colorado Department of Revenue, as amended from time to time, are incorporated into this ordinance number 19-01 by reference, including but not limited to definitions of marijuana, medical marijuana, patient, and primary caregiver. All other applicable definitions are as stated herein. Subparagraph A, accessory structure means a subordinate structure detached from but located on the same lot, parcel, or tract of land as the primary residence, the use of which is incidental and accessory to that of the primary residence. Subparagraph B, accessory use means a use incidental to and subordinate to the primary residence. Subparagraph C, primary residence means a residence where a person, by custom and practice, makes his or her principal domicile and address into which the person intends to return following any temporary absence, such as vacation. Residence is evidenced by actual daily physical presence, occupancy, and use on a regular basis for domestic purposes, such as but not limited to slumber, preparation, and partaking of meals, regular mail delivery, vehicle registration, or water and utility billing. A person shall have only one primary residence. In paragraph D, primary use means the main use of a structure or land is distinguished from an accessory use. Section 3, growing, cultivating, and processing of marijuana. Subparagraph A, marijuana may only be grown, cultivated, or processed as an accessory use for primary residence of the person engaging in such activity for such his or her own consumption and use. Subparagraph B, marijuana may only be grown, cultivated, or processed in a primary residence where residential use is the primary use of the structure, or in an accessory structure to the primary residence on the same property. Subparagraph C, marijuana shall not be grown, cultivated, or processed in more than one structure in any single lot, parcel, or tract of land. Subparagraph D, marijuana shall not be grown, cultivated, or processed within the common areas of a multifamily or attached residential development. Subparagraph E, any area used for the growing, cultivating, or processing of marijuana shall be fully enclosed and locked, ensuring accessibility only by the person growing, cultivating, or processing the marijuana for personal use or for medical use, and to prevent access by children, visitors, casual passers-by, or anyone not authorized to possess marijuana. Subparagraph F, any area used for the growing, cultivating, or processing of marijuana shall comply with all applicable land use codes, building codes, and fire codes, including plumbing, electrical, and mechanical regulations and requirements. Subparagraph G, non-residential buildings or structures that are not accessory to a primary residence shall not be used for the growing, cultivating, or processing of marijuana. Subparagraph H, marijuana shall not be grown, cultivated, or processed outdoors if not fully contained in an enclosed locked structure. Subparagraph I, medical marijuana shall be governed by CRS 25-1.5-106. Section 4, marijuana plant limits. At any given time, no more than 12 marijuana plants, as defined in Amendment 20 to the Colorado Constitution, may be grown, cultivated, or processed in a primary residence or in an accessory structure on a single lot parcel or tract of land, regardless of how many persons 21 years of age or older may occupy said primary residence. This limitation, which is based on Section 18-18-406, parens 3, parens A, parens Roman numeral 2, parens capital A, CRS, supersedes the statutory provisions it grants to each person 21 years or older the right to grow 6 marijuana plants for personal use, and also supersedes the statutory provision that grants to a primary caregiver the right to grow more than 12 plants for his or her patients. Section 5, use of compressed flammable gas products or flammable liquids. No compressed flammable gas, e.g. butane or flammable liquid, may be used in the processing of marijuana. For purposes of this section, flammable liquid means a liquid that has a flash point below 100 degrees Fahrenheit and includes all forms of alcohol and ethanol. Section 6, marijuana activities shall not be perceptible. The growing, cultivating, or processing of marijuana shall not be perceptible from the exterior of the structure in which such activities occur, including but not limited to subparagraph A, common visual observations, subparagraph B, light pollution, glare, or brightness that disturbs the repose of another, subparagraph C, undue vehicular or foot traffic, including unusually heavy parking in the immediate vicinity of the primary residence. Section 7, smell or odor. The smell or odor of marijuana growing, being cultivated, or being processed at a primary residence or in an accessory structure shall not be detectable by a person with a normal sense of smell from any adjoining lot, parcel, tract of land, public right-of-way, or building unit. Section 8, rental property. Any lessee or tenant who uses the rental property in whole or in part for growing, cultivating, or processing marijuana shall obtain written notarized permission from the property owner prior to commencing such use. Part 2, Section 1, administration and enforcement. Custer County Sheriff shall be responsible for the administration and enforcement of this ordinance number 19-01. Section 2, penalty for violations. Any person who violates any provision of this ordinance number 19-01 after its effective date commits a Class 2 petty offense pursuant to Section 30-15-402 parenthesis 1 CRS, and upon conviction thereof shall be punished by a fine of not more than $1,000 for each separate violation, plus a surcharge of $10 pursuant to Section 30-15-402 parenthesis 2 CRS. Each day during which such violations exist shall be deemed a separate offense. Section 3, penalty assessment procedure. The penalty assessment procedure set forth in Section 16-2-201 CRS shall be followed by law enforcement officers charged with enforcement of this ordinance. Pursuant to the penalty assessment procedure, the violator may, in lieu of going to court, choose to pay a fine in the amount of $1,000 plus a $10 surcharge for a violation of any provision of this ordinance. If the penalty assessment procedure is declined by an alleged violator who chooses instead to appear in the county court for Custer County and who is ultimately convicted of a violation of this ordinance in said court, then customary court costs may be assessed in addition to the fine. Section 4, disposition of fines. All fines and surcharges assessed for violation of this ordinance shall be paid to the treasurer of Custer County. Section 5, additional remedies. The remedies provided in this ordinance shall be cumulative in addition to any other federal, state, or local remedy, criminal or civil, which may be available. Section 6, severability. Should any section, clause, sentence, or part of this ordinance be adjudged by any court in competent jurisdiction to be unconstitutional or invalid, the same shall not affect, impair, or invalidate the ordinance as a whole or in any part other than the part so declared to be unconstitutional or invalid. Section 7, safety clause. The Board of County Commissioners for Custer County hereby finds, determines, and declares that this ordinance number 19-01 is necessary for the immediate preservation of public health, welfare, and safety. Section 8, effective date in order to preserve the immediate health and safety of the residents and citizens of Custer County. This ordinance, number 19-01, shall take effect immediately upon its adoption on second and final reading as provided in section 3-15-405 CRS. Introduced, read, and approved on first reading on the 29th day of March 2019 and ordered published in the Wet Mountain Tribune, or line for the 3 commissioners to sign and for it to be attested by the county clerk and recorder. That was done on March 29. And the final page says adopted on second and final reading on the blank day of blank 2019 and ordered published by reference to title only in the Wet Mountain Tribune, Board of County Commissioners for Custer County, State of Colorado. Line for the commissioners, sign for the signatures to be attested by the clerk. Time
10 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
No, 9/11.
What's the board's pleasure?
I move that we approve, is it
Adopt.
adopt, I'm sorry. Is it resolution what?
19-01.
1901, as put on the record.
Been moved and seconded to adopt ordinance 19-01, an ordinance of Custer County Political Subdivision of the State of Colorado regulating residential growing, cultivating, and processing of marijuana in the unincorporated areas of said county. Discussion. I certainly do not have that copy, so we need to make sure that once this is done, commissioners will get a copy of that. I've got 2 or 3 different versions of this, and none of them are as you just
And this
read
is the one that I read last
Right.
time. This was based on what was sent
Right.
to me by Jay and the
So
sheriff.
that's the one we're sticking with, obviously, if we adopt that.
And this is the one that I presume is the one that Meredith sent to the paper, and it's on the website also.
Further discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of adopting ordinance 19-0 as read for the second and final time, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, sir, for your work and your reading. That's about the 4th or 5th reading of that, isn't it? At least
third time.
Third, yeah. So appreciate that. And I'm going to delete this one because I guarantee you it is not right.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions sometime today. We've got to go into an executive session.
Today
You gonna be
is the
around?
30th.
I don't know how long this will
Day
take.
of-
I don't want you to sit around here
It
and
should
waste
only
your
take
time.
5 or 10 minutes.
I'll
I
call
should.
you. Give me your cell number.
Okay.
And you have the other one, other signature lines. Did you stamp them too? Your stamp, does it have to go over a signature or not?
Okay, thanks.
So is Meredith here, or is that just her?
No,
that's
we
just
need to
her
track
clerk?
her
She went
down
down with
too.
the checks is where she went.
Because I just want to make sure she, you understand when you send this to the paper, it's just for the second reading and approval. It's just the title of it. You don't have to send the whole body of the document for publication, okay?
And we do need to scan and email that document to the 3 commissioners,
Okay.
because I do not have
can do
that. Kelly says she'll do it.
Yeah, let's just get that.
Because
PDF.
this is the one that gets recorded.
Gets recorded.
Right. Because you want to record that in some format, don't you?
I just happen to notice I haven't received any response from that collection agency that was trying to get that
Ah.
extra fee from
Right.
for Century Town,
Interesting.
Century Link, rather.
Anything else, gentlemen? Public comment? Hearing none, chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, move into executive
Oh,
session.
yeah, well, take a recess, sorry, yeah. I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to move into executive session for the specific purpose of a conference with the county attorney for receiving legal advice as specified under Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402, subparagraph 4, subparagraph B. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed nay. Motion carries.
You need that, or Jay made that, and you
I
seconded it.
seconded it. So
Put on.
if you would,
Okay.
the time is now 11:48 and the executive session has been concluded. Participants in the executive session were Commissioner Kanda, Commissioner Flower, Commissioner Prince, Attorney Smith, Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper, and Administrative Assistant to the Board Meredith Nichols. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meeting laws, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Hearing none, the next item of agenda.
I need to,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner, or Counselor Smith, do you have a statement for the record?
yes, I'll certify for the record that the executive session was solely for the purpose of giving legal advice to the commissioners. It was stayed on topic, that there was nothing extraneous discussed, and that no decisions were made during the executive session.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Any further business come before the board?
I move that we authorize Attorney Smith to send a letter to the Custer County Medical Clinic, notifying them of the expiration date of the lease between our public health nurse and the clinic.
Would you care to state a date?
Yes, effective May 31st at midnight.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to authorize Counselor Smith to draft a letter to the Custer County Medical Clinic indicating our desire to vacate the public health nurse and her office employees and equipment as of May 31st. Discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I would assume we'll have that forthcoming in the next day or so.
Maybe even by this evening it'll be in your email, but
Okay.
I'll just, for any changes any of you suggest, but then I can still get it in the mail before the week is out, obviously, possibly the next day.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
Move that we adjourn.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. 11:59.
59?
51, 49, sorry, going the wrong direction. You can tell what kind of clocks I have at my house, right? Thank you, ma'am.
You know,
Appreciate it.
guys, just as a thought I had.